this is what is sad. And I found this video about this man, Tabebe, the other day while watching these top 10 videos. The man's story is a lot like mine, and what happens with him being taken to these psych institutes and being made to submit to a diagnosis of either bipolar, schizophrenia, or some sort of emotional psychotropic that you're on is non-lucid and you are just, your brain is destructive. Although if they were to scan my brain and Tabebe's brain and all the other brains out there who are under this mental condition, I would like for them to show me exactly where the bipolar spot of my brain resides. Because after 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or days even of a doctor walking back and forth, how dare they just think that we can submit to saying, yes, doctor, you're right, and you know exactly how my brain is, just meeting me and speaking to me for these 15 minutes. But thank you for diagnosing me and putting that on paper, because maybe now I can get my check. And you know, the fundamental whole aspect of this is as if it is fun to make fun of the mental. And it's not. In the case of Tabebe, I feel bad for that man, and I'm glad that I came across his story, because I hope that once I can share my story and include it within him, that I can share his story amongst mine, and we can bring some awareness to the situation when public service workers, police officers feel that they have the official authority enough in order to declare whether somebody is fit for themselves or not. Even though the situation might call for nothing. Nothing at all. Not even an arrestment to take them to jail. But in spite of, they will put cuffs on you and take you and put you under an FD-12 instead. I'm just learning about this because they did it to me. And this man Tabebe, what they're doing with the news and speaking on his video that he made 2 years back, they're speaking words, but the words that are also up under the closed captionings are subliminal. Like schizophrenia is up right now. Schizophrenia is up. This is by WUSA 9, and this woman can't even say Tabebe's name correct. She hasn't even done her study enough or listened enough to hear the man's name correctly. But he's got a story out there, and it's amazing, and it's about these antipsychotics that when you get put into these institutes and you're waking up foggy enough in your mind after they've given you all of the shots to put you down, and not even down for a couple of hours. I was out for 4 days, waking up, still thinking I'm in the same day. But these people already have these antipsychotics ready for you when you're waking up. They haven't even spoken to you, don't even know your medical history, don't know if you come with any medical problems, and don't know that you've ever taken antipsychotics in your life, but here are some for you now. And if you refuse, and if you look for that exit door and you try to take off for that exit door and say, fuck your pills, you eat those things, they're coming after you with them shots. They're holding you against your will. They're hurting you. They're making you take things to cause an electrical divide within our brains. You see, we grow up hearing ourselves, and we're used to ourselves, and we're just getting to know ourselves when we hit that 20s and 30s age. We're just learning ourselves. We're hearing ourselves. We're knowing, becoming familiar with our what we hear, with us, who we are as feelers and people of emotion. And those emotions are being victimized against us and weaponized against us as if they're not real and they're not allowed to be felt. Because if they're felt, then you got a mental problem. And if you're on the side of the street and if you're yelling and if you're in some kind of passion with what you're feeling, you see, it's from passion that you become compassionate with what you're feeling, what you're speaking. But they don't like the tone of your voice. They will still come and scoop you up and take you away and declare that you got a mental disorder because you do not know how to shut your mouth. Because you don't know how to contain your anger. You're so angry. You're so hostile and you're so aggressive. But you haven't even taken one step forward. It's only the raise of your voice that has hit them that hard in the chest. That they have felt the fear within them and heard your voice and heard our voices. All of us that are out there suffering with this mental awareness. We're not mental. We're not mental at all. We're something unique. And we feel more than any other body has ever experienced before. And let me tell you what, that man, the baby, he's 26 years old and now is spending life in prison because of those antipsychotics that had been fed to his brain over these last 4 years. He started not to recognize the voice within his own mind. He started not to hear himself. And he cried out for the public to help him. He cried out to his mother. He demanded to stop giving him those pills and making him take those pills. He didn't want those pills anymore. What he was doing was being called out to the streets. He was being called out by God within, even though he had a place, they said. But the man wanted to go out and be with the homeless. He wanted to go out and be among the humble people. And that was a crime. They treated it as if it was a crime, so he felt like he was already doing something wrong. So why not then listen to those voices that they know when they give you those pills, they're creating a mass of more within your minds with anti-psychotic medication on a psychotic person. Why would you want the medication to be anti? Because you're thinking you're going to make them more anti-psychotic? But you're calling them psychos. Why wouldn't the medicine be called psychotic medicine? But it is. It's psychotropics. And it destroys the brain. It makes you just that. It makes you as if you're some lollygag in the tropics in your brain and you're off in subliminal somewhere that you can't make sense out of nothing. When I woke up 4 days later, I couldn't even think. I couldn't even remember my name. I was pulling stickers up out of this paper bag they had next to me when I'm waking up that had my face on it, and I knew it was me, and it had a mask, and I'm dead asleep, and I don't remember ever taking that picture. But I'm looking at the name, and it says John Doe on these stickers. And it's got my birthday. I can remember my birthday is in February, but I couldn't remember the day. And the day on there, it wasn't right. I knew it wasn't right, but I couldn't remember my name. They didn't even contact my family. And I had been already gone for 4 days. I can only imagine what this man Tabebe went through. And because of my story, and because of what I've gone through these last 4 years and 1,440 days of homelessness in the nation's capital, what I've witnessed, what I've been through, what I've seen, what I've endured, me and my other half who's been next to me, what we've endured, having constituents of people to have the nerve to call the mayor's office and to complain about just us people who are merely trying to survive, who instead of sleeping in a box decide to earn enough money to get a tent, to set a tent up and to have some sort of shelter while we're waiting for the reach outs of these so-called caseworkers of DC to help us with the so-called voucher programs and the housing bullshit. It should never take years for anybody to get into a home. It doesn't take these workers out here years when they go out searching for their place. It's not going to take them years to get into a place when they find it. No, they're going to fill the application and they're probably going to be moved in within a week or two. Why is it that it's taking a year and 2 and 5 and 10 and more to get the homeless off of the street and into a house if it's under the Fair Housing Act? What is so hard about that? It's because it's not happening. It's because the funds are not going where they need to go. They're not allocated to really go to where they're claimed to be allocated towards. Even though the advocates say, yes, help the homeless, and the mayor says, yes, let's end homelessness, but you can't end something when you don't ever know when it's going to begin. I didn't know I was going to be homeless on the street. I was just losing my family. And not one person or two, but 4. And one after another. And that doesn't even amount to being out here for the 4 years now that I've been after losing the 4 family members that pushed me to the streets because of my funds and not having no family anymore, not having anywhere to go and anybody to call on. I had no choice. I wasn't going to go into the shelters and come out riddled in those bed bugs and those bites and having all of the drama with the females or the males or any of the drugs in and out. I wasn't going to have that. I was going to build my own. And the only way that I could do that was with a tent. And that's the only way any of us homeless out here that want to remain out of the elements and remain some sort of safe, that's what we have, and that's the only thing that we have. That's our contentment. And when we take our contentment tent and we move it to a spot that's a public space, you would think that people would just mind their own fucking business. Go on about your days. Stop worrying about mine. And if you're not looking to help, then keep your vindictive and derogatory and demeaning comments to yourself and continue on. If it is me that's got the mental problem, then so be it. But why spill it out your mouth and push your cruelty of words? And because people live different and under different lifestyles and don't come with the inheritance or the family or the jobs or the know the people and stuff like that, you know, not everybody's got the same life as the next. This is what makes us different and unique and what should pull us together as human beings. But that constituents will call up that mayor. And what makes it worse is that the mayor actually entertains these phone calls. The mayor, as a professional mayor, Muriel Bowser, calling you out, she should pick this phone up when people call and say, I got a problem because there's a white person or there's a black person or there's just a person and a person or 1 person, 2 persons, or 10 persons on the corner. They're singing too loud, they're yelling too loud, or they're flailing their arms around too much for my liking. Or they got a tent that's posted up on some public property and I pay the taxes here and I can't show you that I paid specifically for that piece of public property within my taxes, but I demand that these people be moved. And the mayor entertains those calls. She says to them, okay, call the police, call 311, text 311, snitch on these people. Say what you need to in order to get these people moved and put up and put away and taken off of the streets. You yay. And they do just that too. And the mayor is okay with this because these people even claim that it came from the tip top, that the mayor told them to. And then they get on to these little next door apps and then they talk shit about us. And you know, what they've done is they've caused even more hatred to be brought on to us. They've caused so much shit to happen to us that literally us two little homeless people, they submitted the National Guard onto. For a whole month, people complained about me and my half, my little brown man, so much that they had the National Guard come post up next to us for a whole entire month. Posted up next to me and my Savon. But then they got this border crisis that's happening. And just today, I'm finding out, just today, they're just now issuing the National Guard down there when this has been going on for now a year. But they had the National Guard literally sitting, posted up outside of my 8-person tent that I worked my ass off for and that I had resurrected on public grounds. They had them there to demean us, to humiliate us, to embarrass us. They had this big 6 feet, gotta be 6 feet outside of the grocery store, the Safeway that we were staying out in front of, had stickers that they were putting out onto their sidewalk, their free walking little sidewalk space. That literally would keep people the 6 feet apart. But then when we step out of our tents, you see these people even had more of a problem because the homeless, when they come up out of their tents and they're standing in the line because the Safeway is only allowing 10 people in at a time, they complain more. They move their mask up and they step back and they get all scared because now here we come with our masks up out of our tents. But we look to our left and we look to our right and we can't move within 3 feet because we got not just the line of people in front of our faces, but now we got the National Guard that's standing posted up, one to my left and one to my right next to my contentment tents of a home spot. Why? They said it was to protect the Safeway store. Oh my goodness, that means that every Safeway would have needed the National Guard there to protect the Safeway, because what was happening at the Safeway on 17th was shopping. But what it was us. They were having a problem with us. And I'm going to continue to speak my voice, raise my voice up, and raise my voice up in honor of others. God knows, yes, I'm honored to have received my apartment. After 4 years of advocating for my name, 4 years of sticking it through, and 4 years that I could have ended up dead, just as, like I said, my 4 family members had passed away, but that's nothing compared to still my friends who have passed away that I've gotten to know while I was out here. The hurt is still the same. It still hurts the same. And that's been 8 people. 8 people in just 4 years. And I think it's actually a little bit more now. But that could have been me at any time. And God kept his hand on me. God kept his hand on me to get me now into this apartment. However, I don't know what even is going on with this apartment. You know, the cities and these states that claim that they're out to help, they want to change, they want to rise the poverty levels up out of the poverty spectrums, and how can anything come up out of some shit if you're not willing to risk the disease? You understand? Sickness is sickness, and sickness is something that we've dealt with for a long time. But we've been treated as if we are that sickness. We've been treated as if we are that corona. that the homeless are the reason for it. And we've heard that. We've even heard that it was because of us for the transmission of this corona. People who talk about mental health problems that are out there, like this woman on the news here that is talking about DeBebe and talking about his mental health and showing his video, but knows not the first thing about mental health, but probably sits there. Look at the face she's got. Look at that. Look at the face. Do you know how much she probably sits in the mirror just looking at the wrinkles alone on her forehead? That is her mental, my mental, your mental, their mental. It's just like sexual activity is supposed to stay and remain behind the privacy of our closed doors and remain in our bedrooms. Our mentals belong to us. They're not for you to determine what's wrong with mine. Focus on your own. And people who are out there feeling and that have emotions still, whose hearts haven't hardened up and turned so cold, keep on going, because you're doing the right thing. Persecution came to Jesus because he was a man that people claimed never sinned. I don't know how true that could be, because there is no flesh of righteousness. But the righteousness comes within the choices that we make. The righteousness comes from within. When we start pushing what is righteous for us onto others as an agenda and an agenda of intent, that's when we start becoming corrupt with the evil. That's when we start not listening anymore and following our intuition and the voice within us. That's the voice that these little entities and institutions of such, that these little doctors, whom I'm 35 years old, and a doctor that comes in that's younger than me that's calling himself a psychiatrist but knows nothing about the brain, can't even tell me where the bipolar lies within my brain. Where does the schizophrenia lie within my brain? But it's all within my head. But my head is my brain, and my brain is my mind. And my heart lies within the consciousness and the subconsciousness of my mind, of our minds. Don't think that you're off a course because this and this don't add up, and this aren't on track. Because you're on track. You're feeling. And that today is what a lot of us don't do anymore, is feel. And I felt like I needed to take the time to make this video. And I'm going to make another one because I want to tell my story a little bit more into babies. And I get off track a little bit. But this woman, this newscaster is talking about sources that is telling her about DeBebe. But did she... You think this woman has taken the time? She's standing outside of the prison. But do you think that she's taken the time to walk her ass inside of that prison and say, let me sit down with DeBebe? No. She's just hearing and going with it. A real reporter, though, would take the time to gather all of the information and research the whole entire story. And then to create the story based off of the information gathered from your perspective, not from other sources, not from their perspectives of telling you information. No, you do the research yourself. You seek it out yourself. They're right in front of our face. The answers are there. Those who have an ear, let him hear. The end is nearing. We're here. The second coming has already come. It's here. It's already risen. The resurrection and the reincarnation has already begun. It was already being bred. It was already born, being prepared, risen up, ready. Being prepared this whole time to become the lion and the lioness, and to be that roar to come through the cloud to let you guys know to get your shit together. Our government, our democracy, our country is falling apart. And we're too busy putting our shattered pieces onto others. And that's not fair. We all need to take accountability for our own selves. Stop pushing your ideology and what you think is mental and what you think is wrong and you think on another behalf, and take a look at yourself in the mirror. This woman, I bet if I snapped a picture of what she looked like when I paused my television screen just now and sent it to her, she'd probably have a heart attack. Because she don't think she looked this bad, and like, hey, we are who we are. It's not about the looks. It's not about this outside, because this stew is coming to decay one day. So do what you gotta do to make it right. Because you're hearing it, whether it's through that cloud out there or through this cloud right here. The message is clear. The word is here. The word was told that it was going to be walking in flesh, and it's here. Don't miss it. And instead, start standing up for those homeless people. Start standing up for those people that are out there that fought for our country and that are out there in wheelchairs and that don't have homes and they're living in tents or on the side of the streets or up under blankets or in boxes, in crevices and in corners and in alleys, up on the churches. And those churches open and they come walking up on their stairs and into their church and walk right over those homeless people. All of these funds, all of this money, here I sit in my apartment and I owe $10,000 in rent. But I'm on the voucher program. I'm not supposed to be paying any monies. But why is this place giving me emails telling me that I owe $10,000 in rent? Where's my voucher? Who's got my money? Who's getting the money? Is it even being applied to the rent? Am I going to be asked to leave here soon? Am I going to even be able to get a hold of my caseworker in them 30 days? Nobody's working. Everybody's sitting at home. Everything's virtual reality and over the screen these days. Everybody's so scared to be 6 feet in front of, 6 feet beside, and 6 feet behind. What's with the sixes? What's with all the anti? What matters? Is it the job? Is it the materialistic things? Or is it our country? Is it our freedom? Is it these things that are being ripped from us? I'm 35 years old and I have 3 children, and I'm worried sick about them growing up with the way things are looking right now and how things are going. And just like Tabebe, and God rest his mother's soul, and none of us know the true truth behind his story. Maybe one day we will, and maybe one day I can reach out to him, write him, and let him know to thank you for posting what he did and sharing his story, even though right now he's looked at as a mad mental killer and somebody who was going against his medication. But you know what is more sickening? It's the fact that I'm listening to this woman, and I'm listening and I'm looking at these closed captions, and what's coming out of her mouth is not just being spoken and read within those closed captions, but the messages that are also inserted into these closed captions, such as schizophrenia and things that she isn't speaking, but they want you to read.
And that he would be monitored by DHS.
It's crazy. This woman she didn't even speak the word schizophrenia, and yet I showed you, I turned it around and it was on my screen.
In that video post, McConaughey says
Listen.
he's not mentally ill and has none of the symptoms of schizophrenia or bipolar disease. In Arlington County, Peggy Fox, WUSA 9.
It's because of Tabebe that is inspiring me to talk more about my story. I've already talked 30 minutes now. I gotta get this up on YouTube. Can't share it on the TikToky because you got only 3 minutes for that there. And this would have to be broken down a whole hell of a lot to share it there. So I'm gonna post this up on YouTube. Share. I hope to tell my story a little bit more and really share with you in detail just exactly how much insaneness to the extreme, I mean, to the tip-top extremeness that me and my half has experienced just in these 4 years, having the homeless label carried over our heads and people being familiar with us as homeless. The dreadfulness that came across and onto our lives. The things that were done to us. The fact that just the other day too, I'm told that my friend's dog was attacked, was stabbed. He's a homeless man with his dog. And all of these people around here who just sit out of their windows and watch and make these calls but don't do nothing to help the situation. They just pour fire on it instead and hope that it blows up in flames. And this is my hope, that I hope that the flames come back in karmatic and bite you all in the fucking ass.